Good afternoon, everyone. Mine is a challenging one because I'm talking to you just after we've had our delicious lunch. It's never an easy slot. But I've just decided, due to that fact, that I won't bore you with a whole lot of slides. I'm just going to put one slide. It's going to get your head spinning like my desktop that is going to just appear now. Very busy desktop. How does the topic of cyber security trends link with what we have been talking about the last 24 hours? I take it most of us here are people that are involved in tech, or the business side of it, or the financial aspect, which is somewhere in the middle. You can never talk about any type of security or any type of technology without touching the aspect of cyber, because it's there. It's underlying all types of transactions that you're doing. So I'm gonna just open this part, just maybe to give a little bit of background of who I am, just 2 minutes, and why I chose, or why when I was tasked or asked to talk about this topic, I agreed. Grew up, born and raised down the road in Soweto. When I finished school, a friend of mine whom I loved very much, was like a crush friend, you know. We compete in math. She's in the other class. She's studying commerce. I'm studying physics. We always compete in. I just removed everything so that we can see this. We compete in math. To cut the story short, due to that competition between the two of us, for whatever reason, she decides to say, "What are you going to study next in 2 years' time?" I said, "I'm going to do medicine. I want to be a specialist in this and this and this and this and this." And then she threw this thing my way. "Why don't you do computers? Computers are going to be something in the future, whatever that." This is like mid-90s towards to late 90s. I'm like, computers? Dude, this thing of computers, where have you seen a computer right now? Except when you go to a bank or somewhere, anyone you know with a computer knows. So I want stuff that I can do. To cut the story short, I ended up in that career. With her convincing me, I ended up saying, bye medicine, I'm going to software. I ended up studying software at the Technicon, finished, became a software developer with Liberty and a number of other companies, and I grew into different roles up to a point where I ended up as a CIO, or the first group of, when they officialized the terminology CIO, I don't know how many of you remember that, the CIO terminology title is a new thing. It was never there. It was CEO, COO, CFO. The rest of the other guys, we are newcomers in the boardroom. We were never recognized. Even the power dynamics are still there. Who handles what, where? But to cut the story short, so I've been a CIO in a number of companies, including First Rent, within the First Rent group, FNB. That's what led to me talking about fintech, because FNB back in the days, they decided to invest in one company called FNB Easy Plan, which was a replica or a direct competitor of Capitec, because everybody woke up to the reality that Capitec was eating everyone's lunch. It was an entity that no one, for non-South Africans, Capitec, it's a bank that was set up as a loan shark initially. It was not one of the direct big four players where you know Absa, Standard Bank, and so forth. They invested in that. I was part of the initial team that was tasked, was given the financial investment to go set up this entity. When we were setting up this entity, we learned a whole lot of things, which led to fintech capabilities, fintech thinking, and so forth, which at the end of the day, when I moved with that experience, and then I moved around, being a technologist that did various things. Still play in the financial services. My last role, I was in another financial service entity owned by the state, very known, almost in the same level as Com, but I was the CIO trying to resolve issues, which led back to the solutioning that was available to me to solve the issue, was a fintech capability thinking, because all standard known products that are offered by banks or what we call traditional banking, they were not going to solve the issue. So we went a different route. I'm giving us this background so that by the time I talk about this, just look at that, a whole lot of things that are thrown to us that we need to interpret, understand, read, and comprehend, and then make decisions out of. It's called what we call big data. For me, I'm not talking about data today, I'm talking about cybersecurity. In the path of growing in my career, I ended up assisting the state, being a consultant. I remember they put together a team of, I think, 13, 14 of us, 13 or 15 of us, where we first developed the first cybersecurity framework of the state of South Africa. That framework took forever to be enacted into what we know now as an act. During the conversations of that, South Africa, by then, it was not part of BRICS, but we were thinking as if it's part of BRICS. What would happen to all the partners that South Africa is playing with, not knowing that we will be part of BRICS? I was then part of a company called Wolfpack. I was a founder, a co-founder, and a director. So we did the first cybersecurity barometer measurement of how South Africa, it's contrasted or compared. If you compare South Africa with Kenya, Ghana, Canada, whoever, then there was no cybersecurity framework. This whole thing called cyber was not even used, called cyber. We were still calling it information security. The whole terminology, we adopted it after we've agreed on the framework. We adopted it. The first, then we know the story. It went through, it ended up as an act. But during the development of the framework, another homework came. Lawyers and everyone else started talking about, what about protecting personal information? They took the same group, divided into two. The other group had to do another homework, which resulted in what we know as POPI or Popeye. This is just background that I'm throwing to all of us so that when I start talking about the core of what I want to talk about, this you can see from where I'm pulling some of the insights and some of the knowledge that I'll be sharing with us. So I participated in developing POPI. I participated in developing the framework, the cybersecurity framework. Ran with a number of startups in cybersecurity. Some of them have sold, moved, grown, sold into bigger entities and so forth. So I've built my knowledge in the cyberspace when it was not trending, when we had to then use a lot of research to say anything. And it was known as a scare presentation, because anytime you want to talk to the CFO or CIO or whoever, you have to scare them first. And then they will say, what are you talking about? Then they will listen, because the hacks were not what they are today. This thing of every day waking up, someone is hacked, it was not there, especially in the SA context. You would probably have to look into bigger reports, look in the Americas, look north in the Asia, and so forth, and you'll find hacks and find, and people would say, but who wants to hack us? We are a small South African entity, and so forth. So all that knowledge with adjacent to it, it was a developmental of other things, including the fintech space that was growing with a serious speed, where innovators like yourself were building solutions to solve issues that are out there. The topic that I'm tasked to talk about today is the trends and the patterns that we are seeing out there. It's easy to talk about trends based on your subjective exposure and experience because of the occurrences that you're exposed to. We all know that. If I start that route, you're all gonna say, Modibedi doesn't work. Give us some empirical data that is vetted somewhere. Therefore, I just put this to yourselves to show you with a whole lot of other academic information in the background of researches that are getting released every day. And all of you use those researches one way or another. Gartner, you can think about it. There's a whole lot of information that is coming out that is warning us about the issues of cybersecurity. Developmental technology on the other side, everyone is becoming a cyber entity. The big four players that you know in the text, according to the latest trends, they are all supposedly the key players in the cybersecurity space. You look at your hyperscalers, 4 leading hyperscalers, they're also talking about coming to our cloud platform. We'll provide you with all these cybersecurity related capabilities to ensure that your data is safe, protected, and so forth. So everybody talks about it, and everybody talks about it from the angle that satisfies them and the product they are selling, and the capability they are trying to sort of expose us to, which is fine and accept. And you will never think that human development or technology advancement is a linear thing. It's never a linear thing. It comes from all angles at the same time. My task is then to talk about cybersecurity trends that, for me, at least when I was debated with the people who gave me a task to come and talk, I said, no, I'll be a little bit selfish today. I'm going to go to the one that I think for myself is critical that I've seen in the last few months. I think yesterday we also saw another trend. South Africans, how many are South Africans? I know we've got visitors. Who was hacked yesterday? What was communicated yesterday? Or day before yesterday? We knew about over the weekend, me and the other guys, the guys in the other space. Who was hacked yesterday? Breached? You saw it. I'm not going to mention the name, because I mention it from here, I'm going to fight with other people. So somebody was breached even yesterday. Trust me, because it went to the media. Last week, 3 were breached. Why I know? Because of one of the entities that we invested in, it's in the cybersecurity assessment space and cybersecurity response space. So anytime and every time people get hacked, the players in that space, they talk among themselves, hey, Tsepo has been breached. Tsepo has been breached. How? What happened? So what type of breach is it? Oh, we're not sure. Let's zoom in, then we'll find out when we're there. Which is what enterprises do. So this research, if you can look, there's a first research that we did, Craig, myself, and the entity when we were still part of Wolfpack. That is 2012. That's many years back. It looks old, but if you retract and go back to 2010 and 2012, when we were still having the hangover of Steve, who was visiting the country after the World Cup. Remember that time when we hosted the World Cup? Our thinking was somewhere else, and we did the research just before that. Obviously, we released it in 2012 after the whole, in collaboration with the UK government, we did that. We found that South Africa was strong. I think somebody said it here earlier on. They said South African banking sector was very strong. We found that indeed it was strong. There were 3 sectors that we researched. It was the financial services, focusing on banks, because I just left FNB then. It was state, and it was telcos. We found that we were at another level if you compare us with other players, Canada, Americas, and everywhere. We were leading. Not only in the customer experience capabilities that we had as banks, but in terms of fortification at the back end and resilience in terms of the security controls that were in place, we were leading. Not only that, the thinking and appreciation was ahead, but that is 2012. No one was talking about it. That barometer, a few of you probably know, if not none of you. No one took it anywhere. We gave it to the state security minister. Minister, here's your country and how it looks like. First of all, what is this thing? Secondly, all the stuff followed to us to try and give awareness and training and so forth. But to cut the story of the background, all this information in the latest South African stats, if you look at all the reports coming from everywhere, the biggest trend that we found is that cybersecurity threats have moved away from enterprises to personnel. You are working behind the firewall in your nice company. You are protected by all the multi-layered security features in your stack of security, which is good. No problem with it. But bad players in the dark web, in the deep web, in the surface web, and the other web, where we don't want to mention, they have realized that that is the hardest hit. The best hit, go for personnel. It's easy to get that data about her, because probably she's already sent something on one of the social media platforms about her eating. I'm eating. They collect. She's at the airport. Holiday. Send. The patterns are formed. Her daughter, Sunday they're playing at home, she creates a YouTube or whatever. She sends data gathering. By the time they have enough data about you, it's not your entity, it's not ABSA, it's not Standard Bank, it's not Liberty, it's you as a personal entity, as a person. That is the personal trend that I've started talking to everyone. I was asking other guys just a few minutes ago and said, look around. What is the biggest thing moving now? It's what you call gated communities, estates growing. It's because they are growing because of estates, it's for the rich and the elite. No, it's because of security. But you're looking at it from the level of physical security, but it's linked. We always we update people about our lives. And we allow our kids to be trendy. And we in the who's who expose the data about themselves. I always tell my daughter, I know you said personal information or personal privacy is nothing. Tomorrow you'll be coming to me to cleanse you out of the cyberspace because you are tired of everyone knowing everything about you. You'll be wanting your privacy. You won't find it by then. Because everything about you, your blood type, what do you eat, what are you allergic to, and all, they'll be known. When are you going to be sick? Probably it's going to be known that this one in the next 4 hours is going to be sick because the AI will be calculating. So all that data, it's out there, but the guys that are pushing all these reports, most of the time, what they're pushing enterprise-related security to defend the multinationals out there and companies that are big, which is good because they have the money. But I want to say to all of us here, as individuals, because you know when they deal with you at an individual layer, how hard it feels. When they breach you, your camera suddenly in the house, they can tell you what they've seen in your house, and you are like, yeah? It takes away it takes away something away from you. When someone can tell you where your daughter goes to school, and you never informed them, it sends chills. One of my friends, he's a deep player in this space. We were doing something with him, and what we were doing very deep things. So for whatever reason, the other guys knew what we were doing. So they went for him because for whatever reason, his information was leaked. And they threatened him physically, threatened his daughter and his wife. And we got to the point of, gents, do we withdraw or we go forward? Because you are breached now. They know you, they know your daughter, they know your wife. They send photos and say, by the way, we are coming. But they send the photo of the wife. Where did they get the photo? A cybersecurity practitioner, the wife's data is online via Facebook and via other things. I can't even see. Is it 3 or 2? 5, okay. So if players that are deep in the cyberspace can get exposed, what about an individual executive and a manager like you who's just doing his job at your work? So the trends are saying physical security is the convergence of work that's happening online and work that's happening offline have now converged, because the biggest factor behind, or the driving force, it's the word you put there, fin thing. Back in the days when we researched, we found that hackers were not chasing money, they were chasing glory, they were chasing other things, espionage, countries fighting against one another, and so forth and so forth and so forth. Now, it has changed. When you run your algorithm, everything else becomes second, third, fourth. Finance becomes number one. The socio-economic dynamics have changed. Finance is the biggest influencer behind the attacks. It was always there, but it was never number one, but now it's number one. So that is why if you ask any security guard, guys, when you get home, your security players in your home, where they got home, ask them about what are they experiencing. They'll be telling you what they're experiencing. You know what is it? Guarding executives, guarding important people. It's currently happening. I was telling someone now that go to Sentin, stand between Mandela Square and Sentin City. Just stand there for the next hour. You will see guys with these things passing by. They are physical security guards that are guarding someone walking in there. Because someone has leaked that information that that guy or that lady is loaded. Chances of them being abducted and asked for ransom. This thing of you looking for a smart ransom online, they're like, hey, we are taking dry here, 10 kilometers. This one is 2 kilometers. Let's take this one. Just grab the guy and say pay physically. So that is the trend. The other one is still continuing. The one that you guys are all schooled on, which is cyber defense online to ensure that your firewalls are protected. All this stuff, APIs, that is still going. And there will be players that will release information. Your big players like Microsoft, your big players like Oracle, all of them, they will work there to defend their platforms, to defend their brands, which is fine. How many are playing in making sure that you, a senior manager, supply chain, such and such a company, you are protected? Because they know you're the senior manager for supply chain. So if we get hold of you, certain things can move. CFO, if you can, my own sister, who's a CFO in one entity, she was telling me that, hey, I just got a report. The report says I'm also exposed. I'm like, you're not exposed because of anything you've done. You're just exposed by your title. Because on LinkedIn, you can see what you are. On LinkedIn, you tell stories about you. You even report the financial performance of your entity, isn't it? We've performed like this. We've released money. CEOs earning this 17 million. What? Hey, another guy sitting there doesn't have 10 rands, and now you just got 70 million. They want to find a way to come and grab that money from you. Guess what? Collect data online, collect data on cyberspace, collect data there, utilize it, run parallel processes. One process is the normal one that all these people are defending. The latest firewall, the latest what? That's one part. Let them stay there. But there it's hard because entities invest, CISOs invest, CIOs invest, everyone invests. But personal, no one is there. After you start your car, get out of the yard, get out of the parking, you are on your own, Mr. Oliphant. So if you are exposed highly, your children have exposed you, your wife and everyone else, then the trends, after we've gathered the data, are saying physical security has become the easiest thing they're going for because of they found that the other one, we are intelligently growing. AI is coming to defend entities. So if you go this way, it's easy to take you, and then you will. That one is not even related to cyber, isn't it? When they report it at Sentin police station, there's no cyber there. It's crime, normal crime. Trust me, it's not normal crime only, it's now linked. We've proved it as we go along that most of the time it's linked. So that is the patterns that I wanted to share with yourselves, that the trends are saying now, cybersecurity, propelled by financial capabilities that are not there. The big monies that you fintech players are talking about, they are now saying, okay, critical path, when you do your project management, critical path, that takes 20 steps. This one takes 5 steps. Let's take this one, which is now gunning for you physically and making sure that you remove, and the rest of the other things that they utilize in the space of personal hacks, where they either take you, hold a ransom and ask you to go to the ATM and release the money and all. But that it's something that normally doesn't only come because you are a random guy that they just saw you. There's a pattern of tracing and profiling people and then gunning for, especially in the context of the South African socio-economic dynamics now. They can profile you and then visit you. So it's important that we stay, as we participate in the social media, as we give our children all this nice gadget, as we become intelligent, we also try and play, the word I'm trying to avoid. Play safe. The other aspect is Poppy. We found out when you, I didn't sign here, other areas where you go, they still have a book to sign you, isn't it? Sign you in, sign Mr. Oliphant, or coming to visit Tepo, sign at the gate. That information, most of the time, it ends up in the dark web. That book, because the guys, they get bought. I know you are a security chief, I need data. I'm going to sell it to an insurer. That's what I'm going to say to her. I'm fine. For every 100 people, I'll give you 200 rands. Just 200 rands for nothing, just taking them photo. The guy's I'll send it to you. Take photos as you guys sign there and put your numbers and your names. At the end of the day, data is gathered about your whereabouts. So it's not a scary talk. I know it's a scary talk to a certain extent, but the reality is that is a trend. I just cut the presentation into summary. That is a trend that we are seeing in the cyberspace, that it's moving this way because of supposedly deemed as an easy target. So be aware in your professional lives, but take it home and be aware in your personal lives, and try and teach your children in their exposure. Some of you, when you go to holidays, you post there at the airport, and then the criminals know that, there's no one in that house. Voila, easy. They went to holiday. So all those things are customer behavior that the people in the dark web, they learn. They run their own AI capability to learn, depending on the region, depending on the time, and depending on the context. If you are among the people that they've grouped as a jewel, if you are in that package of the jewel, then you are even worse. But if you're just a random guy, like, we don't know this guy, but we come across him, Chief, give me money, I don't have it. They search, they realize that you have 5 rand in your account, clap, go away. You wish for that, but the reality doesn't happen that simple. It involves trauma, it involves many other things. So my suggestion and my recommendation to us is that I'm not saying get off social media spaces because it's the way of life and the way of work and the way of living now. But try and separate your personal things from your business things. The same principle that they use in finance, do it, because it will haunt you later. You know the young guys that they insult and they get into, typical example, they get into political debates and insult people. 6 years down the line, he wants a job. Then they remember him when he was drunk, and they want to use it as if it's today. And it was a few years later when he was younger. So unfortunately, it bites as if it's today. I saw someone's story, something that he did a few years back. They dealt with her as if it's today, and it's many years back. So all that information that young people post, it will come back in time. You are worse now because you have the capability of the artificial intelligence that has been created at the pace that is going. Anything about you, we run it. If we have several data sets about you, your name, your surname, and whatever, and pictures, we run it, we'll find you. So that's the latest trends, and that's my story for today. Can we smile? I know I scared you, but come on. Yes, at least Oliphant must feel that I was sharing something with you guys. Thank you.